Today's Sunday, November 22nd, 2020, and today I'm going to ramble about the lockdown and some other things and get into some gematria in the end. So, one thing that I think is really interesting is that on these alleged breaking news, cases, deaths, this should be very serious stuff, right? Allegedly. However, they make you sit through these advertisements. You gotta watch advertisements to get the latest news when it comes to this current event. Don't you find that very strange? If there was something very serious and deadly going on, do you really think that they would make us sit through advertisements to get the latest information on it? And I'm going to start with talking about some lockdown stuff because it's just that's the thing going on right now. A bunch of states making new lockdown stuff. Of course, nobody should be surprised. Second wave, they've told us that it's going to happen. And not that the wave is real, it's just that, not that anything about the virus itself, the novel, like a work of fiction. None of that is real, but the second wave is just more draconian stuff being barked at us from talking heads on TV. Anyways, when bars and restaurants in Kentucky closed indoor dining Friday night, at least one restaurant owner refused. Despite the governor's order requiring bars and eateries to close indoor services by 5 p.m. Friday, Beans Cafe and Bakery in Dry Ridge decided not to follow that directive. I think they're really careful about the words they choose, like directive. What is that? It gets into a bunch of legal stuff that I don't care about. But I do notice that they seem to be very particular about the words that they choose. Like, it's not a law, it's literally a directive. It's just people are telling us to do things, and that's why people just do what they're told. And I think just how few places are doing things like this just shows you how bad it already is, and how this whole earth is basically already run by one megacorp, just with various different satanic sounding names. But basically everybody is already owned and operated by the beast system. That's why every single supermarket out there is so willing to enforce all the rules. And I mean, they were ready with all the plexiglass and all the stickers on the floor. I think that's one that people should just not let it go. Just always point out to people, oh man, they sure were prepared with all that plexiglass. It didn't seem to put the plexiglass industry didn't need time to get all that stuff ready. It's like it was just laying around ready to go. Oh man, all those vinyl sticker companies sure did have no trouble printing up all those things. Families were still eating inside the restaurant past the 5 o'clock cutoff. Owner Richard Hayho posted a letter on Facebook announcing the move to customers. More than 1,000 comments revealed mixed, passionate opinions. Blah, blah, blah. It should be their decision whether to eat inside a restaurant or not. Of course. Of course. Why should that even be questioned? But it just shows you how insane current year is. And I've said it before, and I'll just keep saying it. I don't think that 2020 is hindsight. I don't think it's hindsight is 2020, but they like to flip everything and turn it upside down. I think it's foresight. I think that all of these things that they're doing this year, 2020, it's a big psyop, and I think what they're doing is they're trying to gauge people's reaction for when they really do bring in the New World Order and shut everything down, because the mark of the beast will be released and nobody will be able to buy or sell. So all of these little companies that are, I mean, a lot of them are Masonic, but they're going against the system a little bit when they do this stuff. They're going to get squashed out by the time the beast system comes into play. There's going to be no resistance when the beast system, I mean, it'll have to all go underground. It reminds me of all the movies and novels and stuff about dystopian futures that they give us, where there's the underground, the people that are in the underground. It's probably going to be like that. The people who refuse the mark of the beast are going to have underground systems going on, because all of this crazy surveillance that they have already in place, it's going to get turned against the people who refuse the mark. This person's wearing stripes. And there's more stripes off to the side too. I'm a local business owner. My business is now shut down for the second time, so I posted on Facebook that anybody that wanted to fight back, any other business owners that wanted to learn how we could fight back, could join. Just here, they're talking about orange zone. Orange is their favorite color. Orange is 33. Orange zone. How can they tell you to close your business, then argue that you can't even meet up to come up with ways to survive? And meanwhile, there's no help from the government and very few elected officials even standing up for businesses. They're all satanic and ready for the beast system to come in. There's only these few fringe companies out there that are willing to stand up. And I mean, it's just the way it is. It's a straight and narrow path to salvation. It's a broad way to destruction. I thought this was just funny. As for Defiance, Poland carts. The last name. You start to notice things about people's names and stuff. If the people behind this planned protest think this will weaken our resolve to protect the public from the coronavirus, they are wrong. They're gonna come out trying to pretend that all of their crazy measures are helping people, but of course that's just not true. They are just satanic deceivers, and they know how to manipulate people with their emotions, and they're gonna turn all this against people. It's just like you can tell that they're gonna do that with the virus. They're gonna smear anybody or with the vaccine. They're just gonna totally smear anyone with the vaccine as being totally selfish and dangerous because they think for themselves and because they don't want to be told what to do by the government. I just thought it was funny that somebody last name Poland Carts was upset at their reference to internment camps. Anyways. People are beginning to reach that breaking point. I think people really are. This year is just a really big test. And I think that they're calculating what the resistance is going to be like to the beast system when they unravel it. Maybe right now they're taking a list. They're making names of the people that are still around, that still own businesses, that are willing to resist. And people should resist. People definitely should resist. Literally, the only people who support a national lockdown are people who don't have jobs and don't pay rent or go out anyways. So something that I think is really interesting about lockdown, about what's been going on, isn't it interesting that a huge infrastructure has been building up over the past decade, you might say, in order to make what's going on right now feasible? Imagine if the lockdown right now was going on without Amazon. It would look very different, I think. And I think that the only reason that the lockdown is going on right now is because of the changes that have happened. And it's like they're changing for this new world where they will lock people down and people's travel will be restricted and people will just have to log on to like Amazon will just become this huge beast where it's like, I bet it'll just become a thing. Everybody gets mandated a certain amount of, or, get an allowance of a certain amount of beast bucks, and they use their beast bucks to buy from the Beast Corp, and it arrives on their doorstep. I don't know. It's just I think it's not a coincidence that something as huge as Amazon has all come out before this. And probably right before Amazon was the whole Google Maps taking the pictures of everything. I don't know. But maybe this is what the future will look like. The next time when they really introduce the Mark of the Beast, it's going to be like it is today. Just to bring it back to 2020's foresight, it's going to come back to this. If these restrictions ever do let up, which it's almost like we could even be there, and they're never going to loosen up on these restrictions, and they'll keep finding new excuses for things. However, I just think that this whole year has been a glimpse into what it's going to be like in the end. People are going to be locked down. If you don't take the Mark of the Beast, you're going to be rejected from society completely. People are going to be locked in their houses, and they're just going to be getting packages through some giant corporation like Amazon or drones. Just life is going to be very different. It'll be like this year. It kind of reminds me of a lot of games in the future. In a lot of video games, it's like people in SimCity in this, it's like the people never would leave, and there would just be these little drone bots that would go and do everything for people. But the future, it doesn't quite look like that. It's looking more like Idiocracy. The whole barcode thing in the movie Idiocracy is probably a reference to the Mark of the Beast. And when they find that guy without the barcode, everybody freaks out. That'll probably what it'll be like when the people who refuse the mark of the beast, if somebody sees them and sees that, oh, hey, that person doesn't have the mark, they're probably going to freak out and try to get that person captured. Anyways, I think that the end, it's going to look like this, like Idiocracy. Nothing but Carl's Jr. and Costco. Everything will be Costco or Amazon or Carl's Jr. All of these businesses, the few that are around that are resisting, they'll probably just all be gone by that point. Just nobody will have just their own personal business in the very end. Anyways, another thing, now this is where it becomes more of a ramble, less about the lockdowns and stuff, but more about just what the future holds. I think that this is why there has been so much programming for battle royale type things. And there's a lot of movies, a lot of literature about end times that are being written. And a lot of it it's in the same, they have the same elements, where there's some controller people that are taking all the data and knowing what's going on, but the people that are in the game are all killing each other and fighting for resources. And it's just interesting to me, why is this genre so popular these days? And it's because this is probably what they plan for the end times. There will be lockdowns in certain areas and maybe even food drops and dropping guns and things, and they want as much chaos as they can get, I think. These types of games online have been very popular, where you go around looting places and getting guns and shooting people. And I think that's why I would say for the past decade, they've been really pushing people to stock up on ammo, because they want big fireworks in the end. I think that the Bible even references this. I think the people at the tippy top are ready to just go into hiding, go underground. The Bible talks about specifically in the end, there's going to be people that seek refuge in the rocks and in the mountains. It's a big meme in the media of the evil people have bases inside of volcanoes and things. Volcanoes are a hoax. Anyways, I think that there's just so much programming that shows us that we're there in end times, and we get a glimpse into what it's going to be like. It's going to be like Hunger Games. It's going to be like Battle Royale. There's going to be people out there that have been stocking ammo for decades at this point. Race relationships are out of control right now, and it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be crazy. And I pray that many people are raptured, and I pray that in those end times there's people that find the strength to reject the mark of the beast and finish. I don't know how it's going to work, because people are going to get beheaded, so I don't know where that part comes in, but hopefully I'm not here to find out. Maybe that'll just be a big like rounding up. Before I get to this clip, I'm going to play this clip. Because people who reject the mark are going to be beheaded. That could just be when they fully introduce the beast system, they'll go try to round up everybody that refuses to take the mark, and they'll just be killed at that point. I don't know. But that's better than going to hell. So if you don't get raptured, at least you know then at that point, okay, all that you have to do at that point is just survive and refuse the mark of the beast, and you may or may not be headed for that. I don't know. Okay, I just think that this is really funny, and it shows you just they're poking fun at how they use the media to hype people up and get them to do things like stock up on ammo, where I don't think that there really is a real threat. I think that what they want is they just want a ton of people out there with a ton of ammunition and a ton of guns, because they just want it to go crazy when the end comes.
Good morning, Philadelphia. With us today is Frank Reynolds, local business owner and a man with a harrowing story.
That's right. A few days ago, 3 thugs tried to mug.
So I think it's funny that Frank is clearly making up a story right here, and you see how it's 3 thugs, and that's making a joke about how in the news they love the number 3, and of course 33. So he's just making up the story, and there's 3 thugs.
I want to be very clear about something.
And the bone
These
structure.
pieces of garbage, they don't know who the hell they're dealing with.
Do you think maybe you could eat that sandwich later?
I'm starving. There's nothing to eat in this show.
Let's get back to
Right, so these punks,
Yes.
I don't know if they wanted money or they wanted something more sexual. But it's a lucky thing I had my pieces.
Your pieces.
My guns.
Oh.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang!
Wow.
Bang! Well, I don't see so good, so I missed. Then they ran away. I ran after them.
Okay.
Bang! Try to shoot them in the back. But I don't run so good either. Anyway, you guys all think I'm a hero, and I'll accept that responsibility.
Now, weren't you concerned, though, that an innocent bystander may
Look,
have...
crime in this city is out of control. Thank God I went down to Gunther's Guns and picked up a spare. I don't think one would have done it. I'm going to go out and buy some more.
Okay.
And I think you should, too. Don't be a victim. It's time to fight back.
Thank you, Frank.
Okay, so that's just a silly little fake news segment, and I just think it's showing you exactly what happens when the TV or the media are pushing narratives where the tagline of the narrative is, oh, go stock up on guns. And yeah, I don't personally support guns whatsoever. Even running my channel, there's people that will bring up, oh, you better stock up on ammo and stuff. And no, guns make me feel gross. I just think that it's the NWO trying to get people to get huge stockpiles because they want it to just go crazy in the end. Psalm chapter 20, verse 7, some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. A gun doesn't matter. It's not going to save you. A gun is not going to save you. Jesus is going to save you. And yeah, that's it. People tell me sometimes, oh, people just are always out to try to get you scared. And you don't need to be scared. There's nothing to be scared of. You should fear the Lord. That's what the Bible tells you. So yeah, in this video, 2020, just an idea I'll probably keep mentioning. I think it's a glimpse into the future, not hindsight. There was so much orange involved with 2020. I thought it was strange that Bernie was very connected with this hindsight 2020 thing. Must have just had a campaign slogan involving that. So, of course, the big thing in 2020 is this corona thing, but very similar is influenza, and I think just the name. I mean, influenza sounds like influence. I think that's some spellcraft. They've been using sickness to move people around like cattle, to tell people what to do, fear-based mind control. And yeah, the whole polio thing, there is so much fear-based mind control and deception when it comes to medicine and doctors. Anyways, I think it's interesting that the word influenza sounds like influence. And this is what they tell us influenza looks like, these blobby things. I think it's interesting how little they know about influenza. So I guess I'll just say right now, what I believe makes more sense. The common cold and the common flu, I think that it's just natural body processes. They tell us that these things can't replicate outside of us. Well, what if it's our body that's making these things? And that's why there's so many different versions of them. It's not a living entity. That's why there's so many different versions of them. They tell us that they mutate all the time, but maybe they're not mutating. Maybe it's just a natural... Some people have said it has something to do with the body releasing toxins. I mean, maybe it is. That would explain why they look different and why there's so many different types. They're not mutating. It's not an animal. It's not a living thing. Living things, they look like one type of thing. They have the same form. But maybe the reason that these viruses, quote unquote, mutate all the time is because it's not a living entity that is produced the same way all the time. It could just be a collection of genetic garbage that's being sealed up and transported out of the cell. That's just a total guess that I just came up with, but maybe it's just something like that. Maybe our body cells, after time, some genetic like garbage just starts filling up the cells and it needs to be collected and taken out of the cells. Total guess on my part. The length of each particle varies considerably owing to the fact that influenza is pleomorphic and can be in excess of many tens of micrometers, so it can vary in size. However, despite these varied shapes, the viral particles of influenza are all similar in composition. They're made of the same stuff, but they look totally different sometimes. To me, that just means it's not like a living entity. I don't want to really get into that, but just look at this. It's 2020. What's the treatment for influenza? People with the flu are advised to get plenty of rest, drink plenty of liquids, avoid using alcohol and tobacco, and if necessary, take medications such as acetaminophen to relieve the fever and muscle aches. Literally, there's nothing that you can do. Because the acetaminophen is just to make you feel better. I guess you could say the uh, relieve the fever could be one reason to take acetaminophen, but it doesn't cure you. The way to cure yourself is to just let it take its course. And we all know that the flu shots are a miserable failure. There's just more people should be talking about the whole viral theory is very questionable. Now, I do believe that some things are infectious, like the chickenpox, for instance. People being near somebody with chickenpox if you've never had it before. But then notice how chickenpox, you never get it again. So if the flu was similar to that, why would we get it again? And it's because the flu, the common cold, I think that it's totally different things. I think that it's just a year. Why would it be a winter thing? The chicken pox isn't like a summer thing. The chicken pox isn't like a winter thing. Things that, and same thing, other things that spread from touch, it's like sexually transmitted diseases. That it's not like a winter thing or a summer thing. So why the flu or the common cold, it's like a seasonal thing. And I think it's just a natural process that the body goes through, potentially to clean out toxin. People just say that's just such a, who knows what toxins means, But anyways, when I was in school, they told us that viruses looked like these crazy spider things over here on the left. And that's clearly not true. And so now getting more into some Kabbalistic things. The people who control this place, they are Kabbalistic. That's why it's called Corona, because Corona, crown chakra. Now, I don't think that we need to dive in. Like, I would never buy a Kabbalah book and start reading it. And no, I would never buy a book on alchemy and start diving in and reading it. No, but I think that I spent too much of my life just ignoring things rather than observing them and learning it and I just spent way too much of my time not watching. And I think probably because part of me knew that something was effed up here. And instead of facing it, confronting it, and facing it, I just kind of lived most of my life blind to it because I was just ignoring it. I was just shutting everything out. Maybe because I just didn't understand it. Anyways, I thought this was kind of interesting. Keter, which is the crown chakra, manifests itself in the world as an inexplicable will that goes beyond reason or cause and effect. And it's because this whole corona thing, it goes beyond reason without cause or effect. It's a mind virus. So I guess I'll take the time to talk about somebody I know just recently went to the hospital. They said the hospital was empty. They said that there were old people there, but they were all there for old people stuff. One person was there because they fell and they broke their hip. Another old person was there because they had a stroke. Where were all the old people that with the corona? Well, it just doesn't exist. It's a mind virus. It's only real in people's mind. And it's all based off the common cold. They are laughing in people's faces because they've based this novel, like a work of fiction thing, off of the common cold. And they've gotten the whole earth to freak out over it. That's the mocking, is the fact that if you do about 5 minutes of research, you'll see, corona, what they say are coronaviruses, it's the common cold. They literally have shut down the earth over the common cold, which I don't even believe is given from person to person through close contact. I think it's just a natural body process that most people do once a year during the winter. Anyways, Matthew chapter 10, verse 16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. I think when this is Jesus speaking, be ye therefore wise as serpents, I think that that's telling us to pay attention to the things that your enemy does. Ye shall know them by their fruits. If you're totally blocking everything out and you're not paying attention and you're just like, well, because me personally, I can just say stuff. I think that numerology is stupid. I think that flashing your hand in different gang hand signs is stupid. But it's a little bit stupid to ignore that stuff because the evil people that control this place are obsessed with numbers and hand signs. And again, I just want to bring up again, you shouldn't go out and buy an alchemy book. You shouldn't buy a book on Kabbalah and start reading it. You shouldn't buy evil things and really dive into it. But be therefore wise as serpents. You need to know your enemy and understand your enemy and how your enemy operates. And I think that's just a lot of what I try to do with my videos. Now that I'm awake, I like to just take real life stuff and just point out and show all the things that I used to just ignore. And it's so obvious, but all you have to do is pay attention most of the time. Learn what they do. Ye shall know them by their fruits. They act in a certain way. Over and over and over again. So I'm going to end with some silly news articles. One thing that you learn is that the news is fake and they come up with sensational stories to just jerk people around, mess with their emotions. They're obsessed with numbers. One of the most obvious things is that they always have a zillion numbers and they always have people willing to come out and talk about anything. In real life, if something tragic happens to your family members, you demand to be left alone and to be given privacy. That's how real life works. But the media will always have a zillion little details, and they will just be over the top with how many numbers they have. And it's because they like to hide codes in the numbers. And I mean, that's basically it. 7 people have died after drinking hand sanitizer at a party. A group of 9 people drank the antiseptic hand wash when the alcohol ran out at a party. Okay, just nobody would do this. Partygoers drank the product made up of 69% menthol, which had been sold as a hand cleanser during the pandemic. The regional prosecutor said the 7 victims died as a result of the poisoning. A criminal case has been opened. The victims were 5 men aged 27, 28, 32, 59, and 69, along with a woman aged 41. Another person also died, but it's not known what their age or gender is. It's like the unknown soldier. There's one person that we don't know anything about. Okay. In the U.S., states Arizona and New Mexico, it was revealed earlier this year people had died and gone blind from drinking hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer is really bad for you. It's not good. People should just... Washing your hands with soap is all you need. Nobody needs hand sanitizer. It's just not good. All you have to do... I mean, you can just smell it and see, oh, this doesn't seem good. It just doesn't seem right. It's just way too caustic. And yeah, I think that the biggest threat is young children drinking it. I don't really think that adults would ever drink this, but it is very dangerous to children. I will say that. Over the 2-month study period, 4 patients died and 3 others suffered varying degrees of vision loss. Scary. Seizures. One 44-year-old. 44 is a number that they love to bring up in their scary hoaxes because 44 is the number for destruction. Destruction is 44 in Chaldean. You see 44 a lot when it comes to their hoaxes. Okay, I just want to play this clip. I've been getting recommended these videos recently, so you'll have to let me know if YouTube has been pushing these videos for you guys really hard too. It's really clearly like actors playing... So if you go and you read the fine print, if you read the description, it'll even say, oh, this is a video for educational purposes. So what they do, they get an actor to act out a mental disorder. And it's really clear that the person is acting it, but the comments are full of people, no, it's serious. And that's just how these people who know everything is fake and an inside joke, they get off on making people believe in actors and fairy tales, even when it's a known thing. This was for educational purposes. And to me, it's obvious that the person is acting, but just listen to what this person says at the end. It's like a minute in. So we'll just watch the whole thing because I just think it's interesting how they clearly get actors to act out psychological disorders, and then they'll try to pretend like it's a real person.
Rich, I wonder if you can tell me something about what was happening just before you came to the hospital.
Well, what started it was I was just watching the night news program and trying to maintain and cope when my mother came in and just started yelling and screaming at me. And so I just yelled and screamed back, and she said I was crazy. And so I just called the mental health center about 5 times one night. And then I got $25 from my brother, drove about 80 miles on it, got my watch fixed, went to a couple...
Okay, first I just want to say that the therapist has an anchor on their chest. An anchor is a big symbol that they like. If you really look at the anchor symbol, it's the female symbol and the male symbol put together. And also it's an anagram of Archon, like a controller.
Well, health food stores and had a drink. All this is in Martinsville. Rode my bicycle 20 miles and went to the drugstore 6 times and just did one thing at a time. I was just trying to get my life back together, but I guess I was doing it too fast for some people. But I know exactly what I do. I know when I make right and left-hand turns, and I can count to 10. And when I get to 11, it's 2, because we cross out zeros in base 10 in the Arabic system, and I guess it's the basis of numerology or something. But
So do you notice how they got this alleged manic person who is clearly just an actor, acting out manic, and they talk about the numerology system. When you get to 10, it goes back to 1, cross out the zeros, and 11 is 2. That is the basis for the numerology system. And do you see how they're trying to make it seem like manic people pay attention to numerology. And so I thought that was a really interesting clip. So just one thing about numerology, like whenever they have stuff like this, the victims were 5 men and they list out all the ages. A lot of times they're probably trying to communicate some sort of message with that. A lot of times it adds up to 33, but not always. Just the point is that the people in control that make stuff up, they are number obsessed, and they're obsessed with symbolism, hiding little Easter eggs. Have you ever noticed that artists love hiding Easter eggs in their work? It's because they know that that's like a thing. I mean, I've just too many instances to count where I'm looking at a painting and I see, oh, the artist like hid these little pictures, and within their pictures within a picture, Easter eggs. And it's because they're doing it because it's a learned thing. They've learned to look for those things in their life, and so they want to go and do it themselves. They're a bunch of copiers. Anyways, if you take all those numbers and add them up, you get 256. And I thought it was interesting when I went and looked at the Wikipedia article on 256, it starts to talk about gematria. The number value in Hebrew gematria of the word, and it looks like Rona almost, Rana. If this is pronounced Rona, then that would be like extra over the top connections here. But anyways, meaning sing, which appears in Jeremiah 31:6, sing with gladness for Jacob, and was associated with the prophecy of the return of the Messiah. Okay, so I just thought that was interesting how I went and looked up 256 and I got something referencing gematria. I just thought that was pretty interesting. And why does the number 256 appear so often in programming? Maybe so 256, it's a perfect power of 2, and the powers of 2 they're very frequently used in programming and computer science, and they're very important numbers, the powers of 2. So I just thought maybe that's a connection. 256, programming. It's like a subtle reference to programming. I've talked before about how I think movies like A Beautiful Mind, this 33 right there, they're trying to make it seem like you're crazy or like you need to be some sort of math genius to figure out the codes. But it's really not that complicated. You just have to start paying attention. If you never paid attention before, then you're not going to notice anything. But it can start something as easy as just paying attention to the 33s, and you'll start to see stuff. So movies like A Beautiful Mind, they're overcomplicating things. And things like this are mocking the whole idea of showing crazy people making all the connections. They're mocking the fact that they make those connections. They build all these connections. That's what they do. They're obsessed with symbolism. They're obsessed with making things have connections. What they'll claim are coincidences. I mean, there's a reason that you hear so many people say, I don't believe in coincidences. It's because a lot of them know that there really is no such thing as coincidences. They physically sit there and come up with the stories in order to have as many coincidences as they can. And I think often of the expression, you can't make this up, because you can't make this up. It means it's what you say when there's a zillion connections going on. But the more crazy connections you have going on, the more evidence you have that somebody did make this up. They just sat down and wrote it. They wrote it that way to have a bunch of connections. I think sometimes about the number 23, especially because the number 23, it's a subtle way that you can reference 33, because 2 3s is 33. And you see the number 23 come up a lot. There's never just one number. That's just a thing. There's never just one number. There's never just one color. The point is, people who are in control and who make up everything, the satanic deceivers, they talk in signs and symbols. And I mean, even the Q LARP told that one. They love telling people the truth in plain sight, and that's one thing that, so the whole Q thing is a huge LARP, but Q says like their signs and symbols will destroy them or something like that. I don't even know because I don't pay attention to it, but it's just a known thing that people in positions of power are obsessed with signs and symbols. And I think it's really funny. This Simam Dan did a video on me, and I guess I didn't watch the video, but I guess in the video they were talking about 33 because the comment section is just full of people pointing out that 33 really is a thing. 33 is a part of the Freemasons conspiracy, 33 degrees. And then this one down here was really funny. Simam Dan equals 33. Simam Dan, it does equal 33. So, yeah, that's it for this video. Quite a ramble, but I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, that's it for this. God bless everyone.